12 million views and counting on Instagram. It went viral, popped off.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the What's the Dill podcast. We have an incredible special guest with us today. Randall Williams, a.k.a. the Iron Inquisitor. I think a lot of you out there have probably seen Randall's stuff. I know I have. In fact, I've been a fan of Randall's. I've seen his stuff out there. And we actually connected recently, which I'll talk about in a second. But I just wanted to welcome Randall on and thank you for coming on the show, man.
Mr. Pete, thank you so much for having you. I have one quick question. Do you get this a lot? Whenever I see your name, I think of Dill Pickles. Is there any sort of connection or?
I'm actually the great grandson of the Dill
Really?
Empire. No.
Wow,
I'm
so you still get some royalties from. I want to support you, so I was going to Safeway get some pickles. So yeah.
Dude, I'm telling you, if there's one sponsor that I think What's the Dill podcast could really just like lean into, it's like Dill Pickles, like whatever brand. Who's first? Let's do it.
Mm-hmm. As long as they're non-GMO, no seed oils, that sounds great. Catholic values, yes.
Of course. Of course, dude. Of course. I love that. Randall, so real quick, I wanted to kind of jump into a little bit about your life story. We've connected a little bit because we both were lucky enough to win this Truth and Beauty Awards with Ascension Press. So, first of all, congratulations on that. Your video was incredible.
Likewise.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you, bro. And we connected over on social media, which was great to get to know you. And I was just intrigued by your story out in the West Coast. How did you come to know Jesus, and how did you come to be on fire for him in your life? Like, yeah, are you a cradle Catholic? Are you a convert?
Sure, that's a great question. It's a very long story, but to give you the spark notes, I'm 26 years old. I went to Catholic school, K to 12, so it's about 13 years. And I would pray and go to Mass once in a while. Part of my family, funny enough, the Asian side is Catholic, not the white side. And I never really took it super seriously. No one really practiced in my family besides my grandparents. And it wasn't until my first year of college. So I went to community college before I transferred to a university. And I met a guy that I knew in high school, just vaguely, just strange coincidence. We happened to be in the same class. He invited me to his Bible study. I thought all Christians were the same. It turns out he was part of the Church of Christ, but it's some sort of like spin-off of them. And so I joined his Bible study. I didn't know the difference. I thought all Christians were the same. It wasn't, I feel like the term Bible study implies a mutual discussion of ideas, but in reality, it was just a bunch of modules, and it's like three guys trying to lecture me. And eventually it got to the point where they told me I had to get rebaptized because they're credo Baptist instead of pedo baptism or infant baptism. They believe you have to believe first and then be baptized. So they thought my baptism was invalid. And they were really great guys. They really, meant well, and they thought they were doing me a favor. So I have to acknowledge that. And it wasn't until, so after that, I decided to take a break. This was over the course of 6-8 months. But during that time, the Bible verse that really got me, I believe it's in Revelation, where God says, it's better to be hot or cold, but not lukewarm. And I realized I was very lukewarm. I was like, I try to do everything 100%, whether it be academics or fitness or personal projects. And it's like, how am I I almost treated God like a vending machine, where it's like, I want to get an A on this test. I want this girl to say yes when I ask her out. And it was only when it was convenient. But then when I do succeed, or in other times, I would just ignore God at all. And I was like, imagine you had a friend, right? Or like a mentor or something, or your dad, you only ask him for stuff and then you never talk to him the rest of the year. I was like, that's incredibly selfish. And so that drove me to take my faith more seriously. And I did miss their church, amazing young adults, like on par with the young adult Catholic scene, probably better. It's amazing. They have cool alcohol-free parties, beach bonfires. It's so amazing. But at the end of the day, I was like, would I rather be in a church with like very incorrect, almost heretical theology and have a great experience? Or would I just sit in a boring church that's just filled with a bunch of boomers and there's no one my age, but it's the church Christ established? I was like, I definitely have to choose the second option. And then after that, so I left their church and I went down a spiral of Bishop Barron, Ascension Presents. I was like, is everything we believe for the past 2,000 years incorrect? And over time that snowballed. I went to university and I learned more about I got more involved in my Catholic center, and now I'm involved in the diocese. And so somehow I'm here.
That's incredible, man. And I think it's great to hear how you didn't give up on what makes you great in other parts of your life, academics, athletics, training. You said, I go 100% in that. I got to give this thing a shot with the Lord. And I think sometimes what can be a challenge for critical Catholics like myself as well is that vending machine analogy you made. It can be like, I don't know. I don't know how to do this or there. I know this. I see that. I want to do this. I want to party. I want to go to, I don't, I kind of don't know where I fit in all of this. And I think that journey from the head to the heart is really important. And you kind of hit on that through the Ascension Presents, through Bishop Barron. What do you think kind of helped grow that? So you let God into your heart more. What do you think helped grow that into kind of where you are today?
Sure. Well, first we got to start with the essentials. So going to Mass minimum every Sunday, you receive the Eucharist. And it's interesting because I think St. Cyril of Jerusalem talks about this. When you ingest the Eucharist, your body digests those atoms. And so Jesus literally becomes part of you. He becomes part of your cells, which is super cool. And so I think that's a start. It's like spiritual and physical nourishment. Going to confession is also huge. So not having any outstanding mortal sins. It's super hard in today's society, especially with pornography, but that was a huge thing that gave me a boost. And also community. I'd say community is the biggest thing. So finding young Catholics that have the same mindset as you, and it's like iron sharpens iron. So at the in my area, I wasn't aware of like young Catholic professionals, and this was during COVID too, so it was pretty dead, especially during that time. But then I went to USC, and they just have this bustling Newman Center, or we call it a Caruso Center, where there's hundreds, if not thousands, of people that go to Mass every Sunday. And it was amazing. And after that, I met so many people from different backgrounds that take their faith very seriously. And my knowledge just kind of exploded after that just by hanging out with them.
Yeah, that's so important. And I think what's also a great note, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, is we sometimes identify places or people as kind of like not Catholic or like whatever. I could never live here because there's no Catholics there. Like we let kind of maybe like political ideologies fill our perceptions of places. But you're from California. You were talking about San Francisco, USC, like Southern Cal.
Yeah, so I went to University of Southern California, but I've been
Yeah.
California pretty much my whole life.
Yeah, like you're talking about the great Catholics there. So like can you talk to someone who maybe is like, well, I don't know where to find people. I feel like there's no Catholics here. Like there are. Can you tell like some people out there how you found Catholics in anywhere you were planted?
Sure. I mean, the city is literally named San Francisco, like St.
Yeah.
Francis. We have San Jose, all these different cities. There's so much
Yes.
Catholic history here. And
Yes.
it's sad to see that we are in our country a post-Christian society, but there are pockets of Catholics. So what happened was I graduated university and I was so fired I was on fire for my faith, but I was like, what do I do now? I'm like 300 miles back at home because I have a job. I work here. And I was just sitting on my laptop for hours, just sifting through these like parish bulletins that are just egregiously formatted, like disgusting Microsoft Word, Facebook pages that haven't been updated since 2011, trying to find some young adult community. And eventually I found there was a Bay-wide young adult mass. So the entire Bay Area, it was the first one ever. And it was in Oakland. I didn't know anyone at all. I didn't know who was going to show up. So it was a bit scary. So I just drove in my car and drove about 40 minutes to this church. And afterwards, they had a really great reception. There was about 100 people. And so I just walked up to random people and started introducing myself. Long story short, I got involved in Young Catholic Professionals. So I was involved in that. It's a national organization. It's a nonprofit. So they have chapters in almost every state. Even different parishes have pockets of young adult groups. So there are a lot of ministries. And I would say that the easiest way, you have to put yourself out there. It is scary. You have to drive. But once you meet someone who's pretty well integrated, they can link you with other people. They'll add you to the group chats, the email lists. So you got to take that first step and put yourself out there and look. You can't just sit at home all day or go to your local parish that doesn't have a young adult group. You have to put in a little bit of effort.
Yes, it's so, so true and so well said. I think sometimes we want stuff handed to us and we don't want to actually make people feel uncomfortable. And something as important as community, which has helped like nurture your faith for the past few years, it's important. And it might be a little uncomfortable to walk up to someone and say, hey, my name is Pete, but it's really worth it. And that's what you kind of have to do. Just like professionally, we have to network. Sometimes in our faith, we have to put ourselves out there to find stuff that's valuable. YCP, Young Catholic Professionals, such a great organization, literally in every city. If you're in 25 miles of that and you're looking for a Catholic group to go to, check out YCP. So I love that you said that, because I've heard so many great things about all the chapters out there.
Yes, and even in the Bay Area, so we have this thing where it's every quarter we have a Bay Area wide young adult mass, and then we have a big party in the church hall. Sometimes we have like a fully equipped open bar, so it's really cool, and it's a great way to meet other Catholics. People drive from all around the state to come to this, so people even from like Sacramento or Fresno come to this, and now they're starting a Sacramento wide or Central California mass or for young adults too. But yeah, and I'm sure I mean, I read on your website you met your wife at a wedding. So just putting yourself out there.
100%. I mean, like you said, yeah, I met my wife at a wedding, and that's not to say, hey, look, I did it, you can do it. But the Lord had plans for my life. Dude, I'm from New Jersey. I live in Texas right now. I never been to Texas before I met my wife. And it's like the door opened for me to learn more about a girl that I met at a wedding. And it's turned into a fruitful, great life living in Texas. And yeah, of course, there's trade-offs and sacrifices like leaving the place that I'm from. But I think it's really that God has so much for us and we have to trust him. And he's going to purify us even in our uncomfortability, even in our, oh, I don't want to do this. I want to put myself out there. When we give that over to God, he's got like so many amazing things on the other side. So dude, tell me more about Iron Inquisitor. Why did you start it? How did you start it? I think so many people have gained so much from your content, and your, I would say, ability to articulate Catholic teaching is so like excellent. You're so good at it. So I want to honor you for that, but also I'd love to hear kind of the nuts and bolts of how and why you started it.
Sure. Well, you're too kind. I need to do a litany of humility after all these kind words. Yeah. Well, a lot of people don't know. I've been making content for like 7-8 years since high school. I had a fitness channel where I'd make workout tutorials and vlogs. I had a TikTok where I just do funny lifting and software like coding skits. And I built those up to around total like 20K followers. So I've definitely, I've had a few videos that have a couple million views. So I've been in the content game for a while. And I started Iron Inquisitor in May of 2024. So it's not even a year old yet. It's about 9 months old. And what happened was I was focusing on my fitness channel, but there's only so many arm workouts or how to bulk up videos you can make before it gets boring. And also I was like, from a business perspective, what differentiates me from the competition? Because it is very saturated social media. I do compete in bodybuilding. Like I do have some muscle, but I'm nothing crazy or superhuman. I'd say I'm very average in terms of lifting genetics. I'm just keeping 100% real. Same thing with strength. I'm only good because I've been training and tracking my nutrition for so many years. And also, I don't have like a big expertise in nutrition. I don't have a PhD in exercise science or something like Dr. Mike Israetel. So it's like, how could I differentiate myself? It's tough. And also, I'd rather talk about topics that are just close to my heart. Yeah. So I was thinking about this for a while, and I was like, what? I was actually going to adoration. It was like a Friday night. I was just sitting in my car, and I was like, what's a topic I could talk endlessly about? Yeah. And I was like, wait a second, what if I talk about theology? And what's interesting is one aspect that made me that makes this topic appealing is in apologetics specifically, which is I live and breathe apologetics. So before this, I was a huge fanboy, and I still am, of like Catholic Answers, Trent Horn, Jimmy Akin, all of them. So I live and breathe apologetics. So it was all coming in line. I'm a catechist for my diocese. That whole experience, like all these middle school, high schoolers are asking me tough questions. So it is kind of compounding. So I could see God working my life. You could think I was wasting my time with my fitness channel, but no, I was learning about video editing, thumbnails, strategy. So all of this was compounding, and it was sort of like the prime settings or like prime soil to plant, this new channel. And then also one important thing was I've noticed in this apologetic space, like whether it be Trent Horn, Jimmy Aiken, or even like Ben Shapiro, Michael Knowles, Candace Owens, there's always so much craziness online, some crazy atheist or something screaming. And it's kind of a low barrier to entry piece of content. All you have to do is react to it. Some of their videos, like Ben Shapiro or Michael Knowles, they don't do anything. They're just on their phone, they just like chuckle and like, that's crazy. Millions of views. So I was like, at worst, if I'm struggling to make content, I can just react to stuff like Catholic Reacts. And funny enough, my most popular Instagram video, I'm reacting to some Lutheran church. They created something called the Sparkle Creed, where God is like non-binary. Whole video, I'm just sitting like this, like making weird facial expressions. At the end, I'm like, I don't even know what to say. 12 million views and counting on Instagram. It went viral, popped off. So all my deep theological videos, I spend so many hours scripting. No, this video, this took a couple minutes to make. That one popped off. So in a way, it was tempting just because if I'm in a rut, I can react to stuff. But anyway, so why did I make this channel? It's to bring people to heaven. That is the utmost, the top goal. Second tier goal is to explain and defend the Catholic Church. So that's sort of the secondary. That's how I do it. And so when I started the channel, I was like, you know what? Just to jumpstart it, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to make 2 reels every single day for 30 days. And it was a good challenge to challenge my discipline too. So I batch film everything. I just wrote out a bunch of scripts and then I filmed it all in one take and then I edited them. So I would take time after work. I know some weekends I'd be up till 1 a.m. I'd get really bad sleep. I work with a bodybuilding coach. He was pretty mad at me because I'm not sleeping that much. I'm just pumping out this content. And it's one strategy I really like is I don't know if you're familiar with Alex Hormozy. Mm-hmm. Basically, his whole strategy getting started was each piece of short form content you produce has maybe a 1% chance of going viral or popping off. Okay, but if you make 100 videos, I think when you do the math, it's like there's a 67% chance that at least one thing has to pop off. So it mitigate luck by just increasing the volume. And so it's crazy because within 4 months of starting this channel, I'd accumulated about 12 million total views just on YouTube. I hadn't even started Instagram or TikTok. And I was already getting noticed by Catholic Answers to where I had an upcoming interview with like Trent Horn, Jimmy Aiken. So it's honestly mind-numbing how much it's exploded exponentially. But that's sort of the context to how this happened. And it wasn't overnight. Again, I've been making content. Yeah. I've spent hundreds, thousands of dollars on camera gear, on talking with other YouTube experts like gurus, asking for their time. I've spent probably 30 hours making a YouTube video related to fitness that only got a couple hundred, maybe 1,000 views. So it's like a lot of people don't see the work that I've put in. It's not this simple as you just pick up the camera. It's tons of strategy. And also prayer too, praying, God, is this something you want me to do? So, and I will say too, one thing I low key think is, it's kind of a long story. I don't think all of this channel success is just because of my own raw skills or talents. A little bit is luck or the algorithm. I do think, I suspect the Holy Spirit was at play here for this channel. I think if I made it and that wasn't involved, I might have less success or maybe the same. I don't know. But I do suspect this boost was also because of prayer and spending time in adoration too.
I love that. Yeah. And I mean, the surrender that you have to have in making content about our faith, but also in other, our jobs, our vocations, our friends, we have to have so much surrender. And I think the beautiful thing of what you said is that like your number one mission is get people to heaven. Second, defend the truth of the Catholic Church. Okay, that's why you're doing this. And just because people don't see the hard work, I know how much work it takes to make your stuff. I know what you're talking about. Hours of editing and getting ready and setting up and the camera and getting focused, writing scripts. I know how much work it takes. And I think, like you're saying, it's about also being open and prepared for when the moment happens. When God says, okay, like we always want to be in a different place, right? We always want to say, well, I think, God, you should be calling me there. I need more success. But what I have found is that the Lord's like, well, will you prepare in the moment I have you right now for where you want to be? Or are you just going to chalk up to being like, everyone else gets this, everyone else gets that. I wish I had more. I wish I did this. I wish, I wish, I wish. When the Lord is just like work hard in where I have you right now.
Right. And I think it's one of those things where preparation meets opportunity. And maybe this could translate to areas in other people's life. For example, maybe you have a job or you move to a new city and it's like, what's the point of this? But maybe you meet your future spouse or a future startup owner that will introduce you to a really cool opportunity. So there's so many ways in which it's like, is God really working in my life? For example, when I met the Protestant non-denominational guy who got me into his church, the way I view that is perhaps God, it's like Uber, and he has all these drivers to like evangelize people. There's no Catholics in the area, so he sends a Lyft driver. He sends a Protestant to go pick me up,
Yes.
you know?
Yes. Dude, that's so true. And like I know that's been the case in my life. Like every single step that I've been, every new adventure, every new thing, I've used so much of the old me, so much of where God has prepared me. And it wasn't really till I was in the new chapter where I was able to be like, oh, I see why God brought me through that. Oh, I see why God made me do that. Oh, I see why God made me go, be in this position and learn, not just saying, I know everything, Lord, I got it from here, but no, like a learning mindset, a growth mindset. Really important.
Definitely, yes.
Tell me a little bit about some of the, I would say like the people that you've helped, some of the people that have reached out to you who've grown in their faith. I'd love to hear some success stories, man.
Sure. Well, I didn't tell anyone about this channel when I first made it. And eventually it got to the point where there were two priests that came over for dinner at my house. And they were like, Randall, we're going to expose you to like your parents. We've seen your YouTube channel. It's great. And blah, blah, blah. We're learning from it. So that was really cool. They were like the first ones to point it out publicly. In terms of success stories, sometimes I'll read the comments. And for example, I was at Seek about 2 months ago. And I casually posted on my Instagram because a lot of people, this is my first time as like an influencer, right? So I post on my Instagram story, hey, meet me at the Catholic Answers booth because I'm a brand ambassador for them at 4 p.m. We'll just have a little meet and greet. I get there's about 50 people in line. I spent the next 90 minutes because the line kept growing, just talking to people about their stories. And a lot of them, they're like, hey, I used to be Protestant, or I'm in RCIA right now. Or there was one young man who was Jewish and he had a miraculous medal on him and he's looking to convert to Catholicism. One young man was thinking of converting to Catholicism or Eastern Orthodoxy. So it's so cool to see these people in person, not just on the camera.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it too is Catholic theology is complex, especially when you get in indulgences, purgatory, Mary. So seeing the comments, wow, this cleared something up. This was, amazing. And I would say lastly, a few things. Yes, here so my first long form video, or my second one, was about how tips to overcome pornography addiction, and I try to gear it towards mere Christianity, not just Catholic, but it was heavily Catholic tailored. And in the comments, you look at the comments. I'm Muslim and I will be taking parts of this to integrate into my own, or I'm Jewish, or I'm non-denominational, but I really respect what you're doing. I did overlay some like Maccabees or the intercession of the saints, Mary, into that. But that was a great way where I saw in the comments, hey, I've been struggling with this. This really helped. So yeah.
Wow, man. I mean, that's really powerful. And I mean, though people at Seek, people in your comments, I mean, that's a real life impact. Those are real souls at stake that are learning and growing their faith. Like, that's incredible, man.
Right. It's very flattering, yes. And it's very humbling that these people see value in my content. So
yeah. And it's like all glory to God, man. It's like that's the mission. It's like, like that's what God wants for us to grow where he's planted us and to be a light where he has us. And it's your hobbies of lifting and your passions and content and videos and your faith and the intersection of all this. And it's like, yeah, when you do that well with excellence, like God is going to shine through that. And I think it's just a great example of that. And yeah, man, like all glory goes to him.
Yes, I often tell people, how there's a Catholic phrase where Mary is like the moon that reflects the light of Christ. If Mary is the moon, I am like an extremely dirty, filthy mirror, just even less, or like a piece of paper or something. So that's what I tell people, yes. And yeah, it's even cool. Like one thing I tell guys that are looking to get into apologetics or content is don't just sit in your room all day and make content. You should also get involved with your local parish, with ministries, be a catechist, teach RCIA, because you'll, first of all, be nourished spiritually. You'll get to broaden your network, but you also are challenged because you'll have young kids asking you, why is this? Why is that? For example, I had this really cool experience a few weeks ago where there was a high school girl, very smart, and we had a tough discussion on like sort of theology of the body. And afterwards, I was answering some questions she had, and her mom went up to me the next week. She was like, not like the priest or like our previous year's minister didn't give her a satisfactory answer, and you were the first, where it's just clarity. So I was like, wow, that's such a great opportunity, and you also learn. So I'd say it's a dual thing. Also, get involved in your church.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Like for me, I always say like when I kind of started making this podcast and BackSeat Media, making videos kind of that were like very like faith centric, I do this for my job, for my living. And I kind of said, well, I want to put the same effort and energy into like stuff for the faith to build the kingdom. But what I didn't realize is that the Lord had to change my heart before he could allow me to change other people's hearts. He had to purify me to say, dude, I need you to be in a better spot before I can start letting you like talk about life and impact other people. And it brought up a lot in me to say, wow, like I'm making stuff about the faith. I'm making podcasts or videos, but like I have to actually kind of live it out in the real world better. I have to be better in my faith. I need to make sure that I'm having the Lord impact my life and my heart before I can kind of talk about other people's hearts and letting the Lord impact them. And so I think that's such great advice about like, don't just make content, go live it. And the content will flow from that.
Yes, exactly. I mean, even when I'm having just showing you my ideation process, a lot of times I'm literally at the parish, like volunteering, like sometimes like multiple days a week. There's some Sundays I'll just be at church like all day, we're like hanging out after mass. Then, let's go help out with this fair fundraiser. Then we're packing up chairs. Then we go to a restaurant, and it just ends up taking up my whole day. But it's like during this time, hanging out with other Catholics or the priest, we're talking about some interesting topics or like canon law or something. Whenever I hear something interesting, I'll be like, that'd be a great video idea. Or if a student asks a question, just pull up my phone, write it in the notes app. By the end of like a week or two, I have so many video ideas. So it's almost like a content machine just hanging out at the parish, which is, not my primary reason, but still it's a great. And also there's so many cool people you'll meet in the parish or in your network. For example, I'm in the talks with a Byzantine priest who's married, who I want to interview. You'll meet so many cool people, like lay people and priests. That could also be for content. You could always interview them or ask them for advice. So yeah, it's all sort of connected. If anything, it boosts your content up.
100%. I always say like, if this is a service to God, if this is laid before his feet, then I can freely go live my life for him and let the content come through that. Like, of course you can take a note of a good conversation. That's where God wants to inspire us in these moments, because I know in the end, it's not just me. Yes, I need the most views, the most this. No, but like, Lord, purify my heart to where all the glory goes to you. So I can feel free to take inspiration from people and places and events that I'm engaging in, because I know all of this stuff, I lay at his feet every day. And, it's up and downs of my intentions. And if a video gets a lot of views, I sometimes look at myself and go, oh yeah, I'm the man. But it's when the video gets low views, I go, oh my gosh, like, why am I doing this? Because it's like, no. Let me even out my attitude and say, Lord, like, this is for your glory. And I lay this at your feet, and I can freely live and make things because it's all for your glory.
That's exactly right. It does take daily surrender. And I'll even tell God, if this ministry does not find favor or is not pleasing to your eyes, please tear it down and destroy it tomorrow, because I only want to do your will. If it does find favor in you, please 1,000x it. So I try to discern that and pray every day. And so far it's going well. But yeah, there is a sort of detachment I think it's easy for content creators to have, or it's important to have, especially when, I don't know, like, for example, I go to Seek, hundreds of people dapping me up. Oh, bro, you're so based. You're so cool. Can I get a picture? And it can easily go straight to your head where you think you're better than other people, or think it's because of you. And it's like, no, like Saint Jose Maria, who I'm a big fan of, he says, we are the paintbrush and we're useless without the artist actually moving it to make art. So
Yes.
it does
Yes.
require daily surrender and a lot of humility. So
Amen. 100%, man. So final question I'd love to hear from you is, if someone's seeing this, hearing this, watching this, and they're on the fence about going deeper with the Lord, or maybe they've had an experience, they don't really know what to make of it, what would you say to them to say, hey, this is why I think you should listen to that voice and follow the Lord more deeply in your life?
sure. I mean, it does take a leap of faith. I love apologetics. I'm talking about theology all day, but you could learn all the theology and all the arguments, the minimal facts arguments for the resurrection of Jesus in the world. That won't 100% prove the resurrection, maybe 99%, but there is still a leap of faith. And even in our daily lives, we make leaps of faith. For example, Cliff Netchtel is even saying, when you get medicine from the pharmacist, are you checking to see if it's secretly poison? No, there is an act of faith that it's in the system and it's fine. It is what you're expecting to get. So I think it does take a leap of faith. You can't 100% prove Catholicism or Christianity through pure logic and evidence. You can give a high degree of reasonable certainty, but there is a faith jump. And so I'd say pray, for example. If you don't know how to pray, just say, Lord, I don't know how to pray, but I'm trying. Teach me how to pray. And I think it's important. A lot of people, they're discerning Christianity or discerning Catholicism, Eastern Orthodoxy. Instead of just reading it all day on Reddit, go try it out. Go to the church, talk to the pastor, talk to the young adults, and just learn more. You have to physically go out there. And yeah, it might be a long drive. It's scary. Go and do it. I'm sure they'll love having you. So going out, doing the thing, having a devout prayer life, perhaps journaling is what I'd say. So there's sort of a leap, and that leap would entail going out and trying it.
I love it. I love that attitude. I love your attitude. It resonates with me so deeply, and inspires me about not being afraid to just like put myself out there, go out there and trust that God kind of has my back, that God has got a plan, and it's not all about me figuring it out, but God's got a plan, and I just got to walk through that door.
Right. There's a funny story or little joke I always hear. So there's a man who every Sunday after Mass, he goes to a statue of some saint, like maybe St. Andrew or something, and he's like, I ask for your intercession. Can I please win the lottery? Can I please win the lottery? And he does this for like 30 years. He never wins the lottery. And then one day he asks, like, St. Anthony, can I please have your intercession? Can I win the lottery? And the statue comes alive, and he says, my son, I want to help you, but first you have to buy a ticket. So it's like there has to be some action. God, you need to give God something to work with. And then he'll be like, yes, this is the right direction, yes or no,
I love that, man.
Yeah.
Such great advice, such a great call to action for all of us. Yeah, man. And with that, dude, this has been great. I've enjoyed hearing you talk. I could talk to you all day, man. I feel like I could do a part 2, 3, and 4 of this, man. It's been
I want to
great
stay, even though I have to get back to work. But no, this is getting me fired up too. And if I'm ever in Austin, I'll let you know. Actually, I'm visiting a buddy probably sometime this spring or summer, so I'll let you know. Or if you're ever in San Francisco, we could definitely hang out. So
Yeah, man, let's make that happen for sure. I would love that. Hit me up when you're down here in Austin, and we'll definitely link up.
Sounds
and yeah,
good.
You can
Or
always
San
come back on
Antonio.
the pod too.
San Antonio.
San Antonio,
Yes.
but it's close to Austin, so I
Okay.
still even drive up to Austin for work. So
Okay. I miss Buc-ee's. Buc-ee's.
Oh, yeah,
Pulled
dude.
pork sandwich.
fire, dude. Yeah,
Yes.
and dude, Buc-ee's is incredible, dude. It's like the legend grows every day for everyone that comes visit it.
Yes, I went there. I got the T-shirt, everything. So
Yeah, dude. Got the whole Buc-ee's, outfit. He got in the whole mascot thing. You're like, I love this place.
yes, they have the signs. It's like 120 miles to Buc-ee's. So
It's so funny. Yeah, they're everywhere on 35. Awesome, man. Well, again, Randall, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate your words, your conversation. This has been inspiring for me, and I know it's gonna be for a lot of people out there. Appreciate you coming on, talking with us. And for all you out there, make sure you like, subscribe to this podcast, share with someone you think might enjoy it. Go check out Randall's stuff, Iron Inquisitor, super helpful information on apologetics and the faith. I know you'll get a lot out of it. So, Randall, thank you again for coming on, man. I appreciate your time.
awesome, Pete. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. It's a pleasure.
You got it, man. All right, y'all. Peace.
Cool.